FlyQ EFB 3.0 runs on your iPhone, just like this one. So let's take a look and see what it's like. At your home screen, looks pretty normal. In the lower left corner of the screen, you now see an application icon for FlyQ EFB. I'll tap on it. It launches the application the same as it would on the iPad, zooms a map to the location, and so on. This is virtually identical to what you would see on the iPad. There's fundamentally one difference in the iPad version and the iPhone version, and that, if you look at the toolbar closely at the top of the screen, there's no split screen button. That's it. That's pretty much the only difference, and it's only because an iPhone screen size would mean that each individual split screen view would be too small to be useful. That's all. Every other feature, all the ADS-B support, all the augmented reality, the virtual reality features, the download features, the data recorder, every single feature in the product is exactly the same as it is on the iPad, except now in handy pocket size. So there are a couple of differences in terms of the way it looks on the screen, though, just to make it a little easier to use on the screen. So for example, as I'm using the map is pretty normal, 2 fingers. If I want to change the layers, I hit the layers button on the left-hand side of the screen, just like that. Instead of being a pop-up, it's now a full screen view, which makes it easier to turn things on. So I can make it IFR low, turn on the radar, maybe put fuel prices on. Notice new layers like the flight track, which we'll get to when talking about the flight recorder feature and so on. Click done and it goes away. Okay. So instead of having in a lot of places on the iPhone version of the app, instead of having a little pop-up appear on the screen, because of the way the iPhone rather is constructed, it's now a full screen view that you use. Basically, it makes it easier to use. It's pretty much that simple. So one of the differences that you may notice, though, is the way the search button works. At the upper left corner of the screen, there's search. Notice that it's a very small window. Now, you may wonder, well, how can you type into something so small? And the answer is you can't, and you don't have to. When I tap into it, like I'm doing now, it automatically expands. If I tap off, like tap onto the map, it snaps back to its regular size. So let's type something in. I'll tap into it, type in my home airport, Painfield, PAE, hit the search button. The screen layout here is a little bit different when it shows you the search results. Most notably, in previous releases of FlyQ EFB, the 4 buttons, Direct To, Add to Flight Plan, the Map, and the Procedures view were all on the right side of the cell. So next to KPAE, there would be a cluster of 4 buttons on the right side. Now they're below. Turns out it fits a lot better, and it also fixes a problem where the buttons on the right-hand side were simply too small to hit, and often people, even on the iPad, would complain that they'd hit the wrong button. So now even on the iPad, these buttons are on the bottom. We think it makes the whole thing a little easier to see. Let's tap on the airport. When I tap on KPAE, the screen layout is very similar but not identical to what you'd see in the iPad. So you see the basic information, you see your satellite view. Now in the iPad version, the satellite view, the FAA diagram, and the Seattle avionics diagram are all side by side. The screen is smaller here though. So above the satellite view, there's a 3-way split button that says SAT that's highlighted. If I select diagram, you get the FAA diagram. If I select runway, you either get a kind of a stick figure diagram or you see a diagram from Seattle avionics. So if I tap on that, there you go, full screen, and so on. You can turn the wind layer on and off with a button in the right upper right corner, so on. Click done and you're done, etc. The comm frequencies, the runways, etc., nav aids are all there. Something I would point out, and this works on FlyQ EFB on the iPad as well, if you're looking at that general area, elevation, pattern, altitude, and so on, and it's a little bit too small to read, just tap on it. And now you see it nice and big. Okay, there's a lot of places like that in the product. If the comm frequencies are too small, tap on them and you see them nice and big. Okay, same thing, runways, and so on. Okay, the weather is the same too. When we go to weather, you see the 7-day forecast appear. And instead of seeing the local, the regional, and the national radar side by side as you do on the iPad, it's more like what FlyQ Pocket or FlyQ Insight does, where it has switches to show you local, or regional, or national. Still very fast, and you can tap on it to see it full screen. And then click done in the upper left corner to close it. Scroll down, you see the METARs and the TAFs. Again, if they're too small to read, you just tap on them, and there you go. You can see them nice and easy to read, big screen. You can switch it from translated like it is now to raw, back again, whatever you like to do. When you click done, it goes back. Winds aloft layer, weather briefing, you can just tap on it to see the weather briefing, and so on. Procedures are very similar too. If I want to look at the ILS procedure, there you go. You can flick it left and right, back and forth, and you see it. Pinch to zoom, nothing different here. There's a map button on the right side. If I click the map button, you'll see it on the screen. Let me turn the radar layer off. And you see the approach plate is now superimposed on the map. It's an IFR map. If I make it a sectional, it's a little bit more obvious. There you go. Okay. You can set to zoom to current position, track up, all the same stuff that you do on FlyQ EFB on the iPad. One difference, of course, is the gauge bar at the top of the screen. I'm not moving right now, I'm at my desk. It says 156 feet. You see only 3 across because that's all that will fit on an iPad, on an iPhone screen. On the iPad, of course, you can have a lot more, but you can still press and hold to customize and pick whatever gauges you want. Okay, so basically the same as on the iPad. The weather tab down the bottom of the screen, very similar. Again, you see the radars and the METARs and so on. If you tap the wind tab, you see the wind optimization system, the gallery, so you can jump to any weather graphic you like very quickly, very easily. You can search for something and so on. When you go to the plans tab, you see again a plan here. If I hit back, I see my list of recent plans. As with the iPad version of it, a green one means it's downloaded. Orange on the right-hand side, like PBI to Key West, I'll tap on that, means it has to load it from the server. Now it's local on the device. Now, one thing that we did add, which I think is quite clever, is on the iPad, you often have a lot more screen real estate. So all the information at the top of the screen there, it talks about the time, the distance, the pilot, the type, and so on, uses some space. If you want to get rid of that space because the iPhone screen is smaller, there's a button bar in the middle that says Navlog, Weather Briefing, ICAO, Flight Plan. If you double tap anywhere on any of those buttons, look at that. It gets rid of the summary information and shows you much more of that plan. Flick it back and it goes back. Okay, or rather double tap it back. So very easy to do. You can send the flight plan, all the same things that you would do on the iPad version. One difference, I guess, is that the layout is a little different on the status indicators. The status indicators are those colored buttons on the right-hand side of the screen. If you tap anywhere on there, you don't have to have any precision, of course. It will show you the GPS, the weather, the ADS-B, and now new in FlyQ 3.0, the flight recorder. You tap on that, you see the details to it. You can either immediately close the status window by clicking the Done button in the upper right, and you just go back to there. Or, let's say I tap on GPS again. If I want to go back to those status indicator choices, I can click the back button on the upper left side and go to my weather, hit back again, look at my ADS-B. I'm not connected to ADS-B right now at all. Or my flight recorder stuff. Okay, it's all right here. So if you're using this and then you want to send this flight plan, for example, to Facebook, you tap the button that looks like a box with an arrow coming out of it. And you can share the GPX. You can delete it, of course. You can share the GPX, which is a data format for sending flight plans to, flight tracks rather, to other devices and other apps like Cloud Ahoy. Or I can say share image. When I do that, I can send it by message. I can send it by email, Twitter, Facebook. So let's try Facebook. If I want to post that to Facebook, you see a graphical summary of the flight that you just took, a little outline there, write in a comment, post it. Very quick, very, very simple to do. Okay, so that's basically what FlyQ EFB looks like running on your iPhone. It is, again, I'm not going to bother showing everything because it's the same app.